It is becoming unstable, she knows.
Knowledge changes nothing, the oath binds.
She is getting weaker.
The balance is accelerating.
Then slow it.
Impossible. The tree has fed, it will not stop until it is full.
Full of what?
Offer again. The tree no longer waits for permission.
This is Blood Oath under the mango tree. And this one is not just a story. It is a warning. In Umudara town, behind Street Peters Primary School, stood a mango tree older than memory. Nobody knew who planted it. Nobody knew how many seasons it had seen. Children played under it during the day, climbing its low branches and throwing stones at its fruit. But when evening came, even the loudest boys avoided passing near it alone. Old women in the market would shake their heads and say, "That tree hears." They never explained what it meant. They just said it and moved on. Amara and Kemi grew up under that tree. From age 6, they were inseparable. They shared groundnuts during break time. They shared secrets about teachers they feared. They shared dreams too big for their small bodies. Poverty wrapped both their homes like a stubborn cloth. Kemi's mother sold vegetables beside the road from sunrise till night. Amara's father drove a bus and came home angry most evenings because money was never enough. Both girls understood early what it meant to want what you could not have. They watched classmates arrive in cars. They watched rich girls change hairstyles every week. They learned to pretend they did not care. But Amara cared deeply. Her hunger was sharp. It caught her from inside. She hated being laughed at. She hated feeling small. Kemi felt the same pain but carried it quietly. She believed patience was strength. Amara believed patience was weakness. One afternoon when they were 16, after being mocked for wearing old uniforms, they sat under the mango tree with heavy hearts. Amara spoke first. She said she would never live like this again. She said she would be rich no matter what. Kemi smiled gently and said when that day came they would celebrate together. Amara's eyes became intense. She asked if Kemi truly meant together. Kemi nodded without hesitation. Then Amara said the word that would change everything. Everything. She brought out a razor blade from her school bag. Kemi laughed nervously at first, thinking it was drama. But Amara's face did not move. She said if they mixed blood, nothing could separate them. Whatever she gained, Kemi would gain. Whatever Kemi gained, she would gain. They would never compete. They would never betray each other. They would share everything. The wind stopped moving. Even birds grew silent. Amara caught her palm without flinching. Blood appeared bright and shocking. Kemi's heart pounded, but trust pushed her forward. She stretched her hand. The blade touched her skin. Pain came sharp and fast. They pressed their bleeding palms together and said in one voice, "We swear to share everything." At that exact second, a heavy mango fell beside them with a loud thud. Kpom! The sound echoed strangely. They jumped, then laughed to hide the fear crawling up their backs. But the blood from their joined palms dripped down slowly and soaked into the soil near the tree's roots. Neither of them noticed how the ground seemed to darken where it fell. That night, Amara dreamed the mango tree was standing upright, like a tall, dark woman with long branches as arms. It had no eyes, yet she felt washed. Kemi dreamed roots crawled under her bed and wrapped gently around her wrists. Both woke up sweating. Neither spoke about it. Days became months. Months became years. Secondary school ended. Reality struck like cold water. No money for university. No rich uncle to help. Amara began selling clothes in the market, but frustration grew louder inside her. She hated bargaining with customers. She hated smiling at people who looked at her like she was nothing. Kemi found work at a small salon, plaiting hair from morning till night. She was tired too, but she still believed something good would come naturally. Amara stopped believing in nature. She began going out at night. She began speaking to people whose names she never
All right,
mentioned.
let's get this
She
done.
changed
No time
slowly.
to waste.
Her laughter
I'm
became
driving.
sharper. Her silence became heavier. Then, one evening, she disappeared. Her phone switched off. Her room was empty. 3 months passed without any trace. Kemi searched, cried, and prayed. Then, one afternoon, a black SUV drove into their dusty street. Children chased it. Neighbors stared. The door opened and Amara stepped out, shining. Gold rested on her neck. Her clothes were expensive. Her confidence was controlled. She hugged Kemi and whispered she had found a way. From that day, her rise was too fast to explain. Shops opened. Land was bought. Her name traveled across town. But at the same time, cracks began forming in Kemi's life. She was accused falsely of theft and lost her job. Her younger brother fell sick mysteriously. Doctors said his blood level was dropping for no reason. Her landlord demanded rent suddenly. Her mother fainted twice in 1 month. Each tragedy seemed to follow Amara's success like a shadow. When Amara bought a new car, Kemi's brother was rushed to hospital. When Amara opened another shop, Kemi lost the little savings she had. It was no longer a coincidence, it was a pattern. One night, Kemi's old scar burned as if freshly cut. She stared at her palm and felt fear bloom in her chest. She dreamed of the mango tree again. Blood dripped from its branches. A voice whispered softly, "Everything." She woke up shaking. The next night, she followed Amara secretly. The black SUV stopped near the mango tree behind the school. Amara stepped out dressed in white. An old thin man stood waiting under the branches. He handed her a calabash. Amara caught her palm and let blood drip inside. The old man poured something at the root and said, "The balance continues." Amara answered softly. She agreed. Kemi's breath stopped. She understood. Their oats had grown roots, and the roots were feeding. My people, there is something about hunger. Not the hunger of the stomach, the hunger of the soul. When it grows too big, it stops asking questions. It stops caring who pays. It only wants to be fed. And when Amara said she had found a way, what she truly meant was this. She had found something willing to feed her hunger. But hunger always eats from somewhere. And in this case, it was eating from Kemi. After that night behind the mango tree, when Kemi saw Amara kneel in white and watched her blood drip into the calabash, nothing inside her felt steady again. She went home shaking. She lay on her thin mattress, staring at the ceiling, while her brother coughed weakly from the next room. The words kept repeating in her head. She agreed. Agreed to what? They were 16. They were foolish. They were angry. They were children. But the tree did not care about age. The soil did not care about innocence. Blood had entered it. And blood remembers. The next morning, Kemi's brother's condition worsened. His lips were pale. His eyes looked tired beyond his years. Doctors said they needed more tests, more money. Kemi sat in the hospital corridor and thought about Amara's gold necklace shining under the moonlight. That same afternoon, Amara posted pictures online celebrating another business deal, smiling, toasting, growing. And at the same time, Kemi felt herself shrinking. It was subtle at first. She gets tired easily. She became forgetful. Food lost taste. Sleep brought strange dreams. In one dream, she stood under the mango tree. and saw thick roots spreading out from its trunk. Each root had something tied to it. One held her brother's health, another held her mother's strength, another held her job, and at the center, deep inside the trunk, she saw Amara's face, smiling. She woke, gasping. The scar on her palm burned again. It was no longer faint. It looked darker, almost fresh. She pressed her thumb against it and felt a strange pulse. That evening, she confronted Amara directly. They sat in Amara's new living room, air conditioning humming softly. The room smelled expensive. Kemi felt small there. "Tell me the truth," she said quietly. Amara looked at her calmly. "About what?" "About the tree." Silence stretched between them. Amara smiled slowly. "You still believe in those childish things?" Kemi leaned forward. "I saw you." The smile faded. The calm cracked. "You should not have followed me," Amara said softly. "You are using me," Kemi whispered. Amara stood up and walked toward the window. "I did what I had to do," she replied. "You think I enjoyed suffering? You think I liked begging life to notice me? At what cost?" Kemi's voice trembled. Amara turned slowly. "Nothing is free." That answer chilled Kemi more than any denial could have. That night, Kemi's mother collapsed again, her body weak, her breath shallow. Doctors said her blood pressure had dropped dangerously low. Kemi sat beside her hospital bed and felt something inside her snap. This was no coincidence. This was not bad luck. This was balance. The next night, she returned to the mango tree alone. The school compound was quiet. The tree stood tall and dark under the moonlight. The air felt thick, like before a storm. "You came," a voice said behind her. She turned. The old thin man stepped out from the shadows. His eyes were deep and empty at the same time. "What have you done to my family?" she demanded. He tilted his head slightly. "Nothing that was not agreed." "We were children," she shouted. "Blood does not know childhood," he replied calmly. "Blood knows promise." Kemi's heart pounded. "Break it," she said. The man smiled faintly. "Balance must continue." Suddenly, the wind began moving through the branches. The leaves shook softly. "Where is Amara?" Kemi asked. "Rising," he answered. And at that exact moment, far away in town, Amara was signing papers for another property deal. Smiling, growing, feeding. Kemi fell to her knees under the tree and felt tears burn her face. "Take it back," she whispered. "Take my blood back." The old man crouched slightly, bringing his face level with hers. "Blood once given cannot be taken, only repaid." "Repaid how?" she asked. "Through balance." Her body trembled. She suddenly understood the cruel simplicity. For every rise, there must be a fall. For every gain, there must be a loss. They had asked to share everything. The earth was simply honoring the request. She ran home before sunrise, her thoughts spinning wildly. Over the next week, things worsened. Kemi fainted at the market. Her brother required a transfusion. Her mother could no longer stand for long periods. At the same time, Amara's name began appearing in newspapers. Young Female Entrepreneur of the Year, Rising Business Star, interviews, photos, applause. But something else began changing too. Amara started having nightmares. In her dream, she stood under the mango tree and the roots wrapped around her ankles. She tried to move, but could not. The old man stood behind her, whispering, "Balance." She would wake, sweating, clutching her chest. She began hearing faint sounds at night, soft thuds outside her window, like mangoes falling. But there was no tree near her house. She tried to ignore it. She told herself, success always comes with pressure, but deep down, she knew the price was not finished. One evening, as she looked at her reflection in the mirror, she noticed something that made her breath stop. A faint line had appeared on her palm, exactly where she had cut herself years ago. It was darkening again. The same time Kemi's scar burned brighter, Amara's scar was awakening too. The balance was tightening. That night, Amara drove again to the mango tree. The old man was waiting. It is becoming unstable, she said urgently. She knows. He nodded slowly. Knowledge changes nothing. The oath binds. She is getting weaker, Amara whispered. The balance is accelerating, he replied. Then slow it, she insisted. Impossible. The tree has fed. It will not stop until it is full. Full of what? She asked. He did not answer. Instead, he placed the calabash in her hands. Offer again, he instructed. Her hand trembled slightly as she lifted the blade. For the first time, fear touched her hunger. Meanwhile, across town, Kemi lay awake staring at her ceiling. She felt something calling her, pulling her, not a voice, but a pressure, as if invisible threads tied her to the mango tree. She understood one thing clearly now. This would not stop unless someone broke it, and breaking it would not be simple. Because blood does not cancel itself quietly, and the earth does not release what it has swallowed without shaking. The night Amara tried to slow the balance, everything changed. She stood under the mango tree holding the blade, her hand trembling for the first time since her rise began. The old man watched her without blinking. Offer again, he said. The wind moved slowly through the branches. Amara pressed the blade to her palm, but before she could cut, a sudden sharp pain shot through her arm. She screamed. The scar from years ago tore open by itself. Blood began to flow without the blade touching her skin. The old man's expression did not change. The tree no longer waits for permission, he said quietly. At that exact moment, far across town, Kemi collapsed in her house. Her mother shouted her name. Kemi's body hit the floor hard. Her palm burned like fire. Blood began to seep from her old scar too. 2 wounds, 2 bodies, 1 oath. The wind around the mango tree grew stronger. Leaves shook violently. The ground under Amara's feet vibrated faintly. What is happening? She shouted. The old man finally looked uneasy. The balance is overflowing. Overflowing with what? She cried. With death. Amara's mind raced. She thought the sacrifice was simple. Small losses here, small gains there. She did not understand that the tree had been feeding quietly, building something deeper. The earth beneath the roots began to crack slightly. The soil shifted as if something underneath was moving. Stop it! Amara shouted. Take something else. The old man shook his head slowly. It takes what is tied. Across town, Kemi's breathing slowed dangerously. Her mother cried for help.
Help!
Neighbors
Somebody,
rushed
please!
in.
We're here.
Someone
Let's get her
called
up.
for a
It's the old scar.
to
Get the
take
car.
her to the
Hurry!
hospital. As they lifted her, her palm dripped blood onto the floor. But no fresh cut was visible. It was coming from the old scar. In the car, Kemi's eyes fluttered open. She whispered only one word. Tree. Back at the school compound, the mango tree began to shake violently, though there was no storm. Mangoes dropped one after another. The old man stepped backward as a deep cracking sound echoed from within the trunk. Amara felt fear fully now. Not fear of poverty, not fear of shame, but fear of losing control. I only wanted to rise, she whispered. The old man's voice turned colder. You asked to share everything. A loud crack split through the trunk. A thin dark line appeared down its center. The earth under the roots began sinking slightly, and then something happened that neither of them expected. The tree began bleeding. Thick dark sap flowed from the crack in its trunk like slow blood. The smell was sharp and metallic. Amara stumbled backward. "What did you awaken?" she demanded. The old man's silence answered her. In the hospital, doctors surrounded Kemi. Her blood pressure was dangerously low. They prepared for an emergency transfusion, but as they inserted the needle, the bleeding from her palm suddenly stopped completely. At the same time, under the tree, Amara's bleeding stopped too. The air froze. The wind died instantly. The crack in the trunk widened slowly until the tree split with a thunderous sound. The top half leaned slightly before crashing to one side. The old man disappeared like smoke blown by unseen wind. Amara stood alone in silence. The calabash shattered on the ground without being touched. The sap stopped flowing. The roots, once thick and raised, seemed to sink deeper into the soil, as if retreating. Something had broken. In the hospital, Kemi's heartbeat stabilized. Her breathing returned steady. Doctors looked confused but relieved. Her mother wept quietly beside the bed. When Kemi finally opened her eyes fully, the burning in her palm was gone. The scar remained, but it was pale again, weak, silent. The next morning, news spread quickly through Umudara town. The old mango tree behind the primary school had split in the night. No lightning, no storm, it just broke. People gathered around it whispering. Some said termites, some said age. The elders said nothing. They only looked at the ground around the roots and shook their heads. In the following weeks, Amara's empire began collapsing quietly. One business deal failed unexpectedly. An investor withdrew. Accounts froze. Nothing dramatic, just steady erosion. Money that once flowed like a river began drying up like sand. People who once surrounded her stopped answering calls. The gold chain disappeared from her neck. The SUV was repossessed. The house was sold. She did not fight it. She did not scream. She watched it fall with strange calm. It was not punishment. It was a correction. Kemi recovered slowly. Her brother's health improved. Her mother regained strength. Small peace returned to their home. No miracle riches, no sudden success. Just stability, balance restored. One evening, weeks after the tree fell, Amara went to see Kemi. No makeup, no pride, no guards, just her. They sat facing each other quietly. "It ended," Amara said softly. Kemi nodded. "The tree broke. So did I," Amara replied. Silence sat between them, but it was no longer heavy. "I thought I was clever," Amara continued. "I thought I found a shortcut." Kemi looked at her palm. Shortcuts always cut something. Amara let out a weak laugh. "Are you angry?" Kemi thought carefully before answering. "I was, but anger feeds the same hunger." Amara lowered her eyes. "I would undo it if I could." "It's already undone," Kemi said. And that was true. The oath had collapsed with the tree. What remained were scars and lessons. Months passed. The school compound cleared the fallen mango tree completely. The field looked empty without it. Children began playing there again without fear. Amara started again from nothing. Smaller business, honest work, slow progress. It was harder this time, but it was hers. Kemi found stable work at a new salon. Life was not glamorous, but it was real. Neither of them ever used the word everything carelessly again, because they understood now that when blood enters the soil answers. And when you ask to share everything, you must be ready to share loss too.